Welcome back to the Collective Clips. Before we get into this story, make sure that you hit that like and subscribe button, that notification bell, tap it, lick it, touch it, rub it, do whatever you have to do. I do. Hit that motherfucker one time and let's notify yourself of all the great content I'm going to be bringing. Now trip out on this. This story right here, it's a trip, right? What you know about a race? You start off at a line to go to another line. A race is usually interactive. A race is fun. For funs, Holmes. Not for reals, but for fakes, right? You do it for funs, and everyone at the end of the day gets a fucking participation trophy. Everybody's happy. But I'm going to talk about a race for 1,000 years. A race like no other race in the world. A race that quite possibly could be going on still to this day. And about a pact of friendship, of brotherhood, of four individuals that came together. They had something common going on in their lives. And the commonality that they had in there, if that's even a word, that they had in their life was that they were all lifers in prison. They were all doing the extended stay, forever and a wake up. They were never going to get out. These guys had a master plan. And let me explain to you about this race that they decided to do. So I pull up to this prison, and I've told this story a long time ago. I pull up to this prison. I'm the only norteño at this prison. And it's out of state. And when I say I'm the only norteño, that's it. The only one that was ever there prior to that date. The only one that probably till now has ever been there. Maybe there's been others. But up until then, I was the only one. And I remember getting there with the mentality, well, I can't stay here. I could try to establish and plant a flag for the people, but at the same time, these guys want to do something terrible to me and horrible to me when they find out who I am. And I remember going to R&R and I'm dressing out in my prison blues that they had given me. And even the cop, he's a big old white cop, man, wood brother. And he looks at me, he's like, hey, brother, what's that on your stomach? Now, at that time, anyone who knows my old channel, I had a big huelga bird on my stomach. And I said, well, that's a huelga bird. And he said, well, what does that mean? I said, it means Northern California, Ike, right? Northern California. And he says, oh, yeah, you're in trouble. Now, when the cop is telling you you're in trouble and ain't doing nothing about it, you're in trouble, right? So, guard, you sons of bitches, right? So I knew I was in trouble. But it was what it was. I already had that mind. My mind was made up. My mind was set like, hey, I'm going to get to this compa or this building, wherever they send me, and I'm going to get off, man. The first person that approaches me on some bullshit, I'm getting off because, I ain't going to get whacked on this yard. I already knew what it was, man. The enemies were in abundance. There was a gang of Southsiders on this yard, and they were feeling some type of way about Norteños, right? So there was no way I was going to be able to function on that yard amongst these guys. I was going to try. I was going to wiggle as hard as I could. But more than likely, it was going to ultimately end up with me dying or killing somebody. So anyways, I remember pulling up to the building. It's a dorm setting. And my cellie was this white guy that thought he was a Nelly, right? It's getting hot in here. I remember he was a failed rapper that still thought he could do it. He thought he was a rapper. So anyways, he's like, hey, what's up? Where you from, bro? And I said, from Northern California, Norteño, what's up? And he was like, what is that, right? He didn't even know what I was. That's how foreign it was to these people. This Native American who slept next to me understood exactly what the get down was. So he gave me a cup with a soap and a couple of sopas and was like, hey, bro, you know what I mean? I'll catch you on the rebound, when you get out the hole. So I remember I just went on a long trip from the reception to this institution. So I needed to shower. When you're on that long bus ride, you're sweaty, you're nervous. The nerves are going, man, where you're going because it's a new place. You don't know what to expect, especially in the situation I was in. I already knew I was going to be outnumbered regardless, whether if I had homeboys there or not. And to come to find out, I didn't. So anyways, I'm a little nervous, man. My sobacos are smelling like cebolla, right? Sin cebolla. So I get there smelling like a carne asada burrito and I need to take a shower. So, of course, I jump in the shower. Now, the way the shower was, it was a big old square with a whole bunch of shower heads on it. And there was one little paisa in the corner getting his motherfucking shower on. And I remember he looks at my stomach and his eyes get big and he tells me in Spanish, hey, you're not going to be here for too long. You cannot be here, my friend. And I said, watcha? You know what I mean? Watcha, I get down. And I'm nervous. I'm like, wow, man, the cop done told me, the paisa done told me, who's next? And I know what it is. So anyways, by the time I make it back to my bunk and I'm putting on my t-shirt, I'm getting, dressed, this paisa done already told on me. Done told on he described my tattoo to the T, right? Mira este vato over there. See that vato right there? That vato is norteño. I want those to be a monster, right? Next thing you know, 3 little Southsiders, 3 or 4 of them walk up to me, youngsters, right? They're like, hey, what's up, Bessie? Where you from, dog? And I said, Northern California, what's up, North, right? They were like, hey, you can't be here, homies. We'll get at you on the yard. And I'm thinking to myself, why didn't they just get off on me right now? Why didn't I just get off on them right now, you know? Of course, it just didn't work out that way, man. I'd be lying if I told you I did, right? But I was kind of like, okay, I'm going to go to the yard. Thought I was cool. Like, all right, shit. I ain't no punk. I'll turn around, man, and beat a sweat went like this. Splash, right? And they left. So all night, I'm laying down. Well, we went to Chow. I remember I went to Chow, and I sat with the brothers, man. There was a brother there from Oakland. And he happened to be from out of state. He gets at me. He's like, damn, there ain't none of your peoples here, man. You already know what you got to do. I said, I already know. Good looking out. He's like, you can hang with the brothers on the yard. But, I mean, a lot of these brothers out here ain't with that wiggleization like I am, right? You know, he was from Northern California, so he already knew what time it was. I was like, I appreciate you, man. I'll look for you on the yard. He's like, yeah, man, you do that. But if you see a bunch of Southsiders, keep your distance, right? You know what I mean? So I'm doing my thing. On Baru. It's all good. I'm on my own, man. That's the type of man you have to be sometimes. Sometimes, as a striving Northenian, what I was put in them situations as a youngster, as a grown man. When's it never not the case that Northerners are on, you know, the defensive stance all the time? So it was what it was. Nothing that I'm not used to, but I was nervous, man. So I remember sleeping that night, not even really sleeping, keeping one eye open, making sure these fools didn't plaquear me at the night, hit me, you know, because it was a dorm setting. Nothing happens. Morning time comes, you know, eggs and bacon. I got their perfect timing for that grand slam. Got my little grand slaminalization on and everything's cool. And then I have to go to the yard. So when I go to the yard, I feel that if for no other reason, I'm going to act all tough, Billy Badass. So I take my shirt off, sit on these bleachers with the Native Americans. They all get up, walk away from me. And then the story goes, man, 3 or 4 dudes call me to the fucking, to the track. And they try to give me all these rules and regulations. And we end up getting off. I get jumped on. I took flight. I get jumped on. I get drugged to the oil. Well, this was my first time being in this hole. So I'm kind of peeping the situation. I'm listening on the tier, hearing people have conversations. It's not like California where it's more quiet and everyone's doing their program. It's a lot louder. There's a lot of people woofing on each other, bumping baking soda breath right there on that door, you know, peeling paint off the doors and putting paint where there ain't. And I hear this conversation between these 4 individuals. Now, this is where the story gets a little tricky. These 4 guys were skinheads. Or what claimed to be skinheads, right? I don't know if they were part of a different gang or a group, but they were 4 homeboys that were all side by side. 2 of them were selling, 2 of them were in the cell, and the other 2 were in the cell. And these guys come to find out just listening in on their conversation, not participating because, you know, who was I to fucking jump in their mix? But just listening to them, I started to hear them discuss what they intended to do. And what they intended to do was a race for 1,000 years. Now, all 4 of these guys on separate cases already had life in prison. They were already lifers. They were doing the duration. They were not going nowhere. So they really had nothing to lose. But they made a pact. It all started out as a joke. Then it got to a conversation. Then it became a real conversation. Then it became a challenge. And then it became a pact. And the challenge was from 2 cellies to the other, who would be the first person to catch 1,000 years? What would you really do to make it happen? Are you willing to sacrifice and go on the yard and hit anybody at anytime you got a chance? This was the pact that they made, that anytime they got a chance to put some steel in somebody, they would. Didn't matter who it was. If they got air and opportunity, they were going to make it happen because they were in a race for 1,000 years. Now, this happened. So I remember listening to it thinking, it was just a conversation. The next day, they kept speaking on it and speaking on it. And I got out of that oil, got off right there in the building before they shipped me out of there, came right back into the cell. I went back out, made it this time all the way to the building before Southsiders jumped on me. So there was a lot going on in the meantime, in between time, but this conversation never changed. It was a constant, what are you going to do? How are you going to handle your business? When are you going to make it happen? So anyways, 2 of these guys were released. Okay. And they came back to the oil within days, immediately, for not catching a body, but damn near. Okay. They scraped someone very, very bad with some metal. Okay, they were hoping to get a DA referral. For those of you that don't know what a DA referral is, when you're incarcerated, you can pick up charges. Now, most of the time you don't. Most of the time you could hit someone unless you're actually blatantly seen with the knife, putting it in his neck and doing all that, the piece. You're not going to pick up a DA referral. They're going to shine you on. But if there's an election coming or there's something that benefits the county and they need that money, they will waste the taxpayers' money on you in trial, even though you're facing life or you're doing life already. They will do that because, I mean, it makes them look better to get a conviction, even on a convicted felon. So that's what a DA referral means. Anytime you do a pegada, anytime you're involved in a melee or anything where someone gets really hurt, assaulted, everyone's on their toes looking for that DA referral. Usually if it doesn't come within a month or two, you're good, right? But it could come at any time. They usually pick it up right from the gate. But you got anywhere from 0 days to a year for them really to pick it up. But they 9 times out of 10 they won't, but when they do, you're fucked. Let's just say you're getting some time tacked on. That's what these guys were in the race for. Okay, well, let me tell you about one of them. So one of those 4 guys, and they all got a tattoo on them, Murder Inc., right? Like the old Italian mob, Albert Anastasia, the Murder Incorporated, right? Meaning that they were willing to go out there and catch body for body like a Mozzie song. They were really willing to go out there and do that. So that's what these guys were on, right? So one of the guys, they sent to a different prison. And everyone's doing their prison time. I thought it was just something fun while you were in the hole to listen to. It was, they were telling stories about things that they had done in the past. And these were some crazy ass woods, brother. Let me tell you something, brother. Macho man, right? They were fucking different, homes. These were mega powers getting ready to explode. These vatos already were lifers for heinous crimes. One of them had killed his grandparents. Another one had killed a whole family. Another one had killed someone in a robbery. The other one, he was just killing to be killed. He was called one of the thrill killers, I guess. These guys all had that mentality, that makeup. They didn't give a fuck. They were already doing life. They were about to face much, much more. So anyways, one of these guys, and this was the biggest case I ever heard of. I don't know if they're continuing this. I don't know if someone already caught the 1,000 years and he won. He got the fucking consolation prize of a locked door and a chirujo in his fucking cell. I don't know, but I know this, and this is facts, that one of the guys took it serious. So he ends up in a different prison. And this is more penitentiary style, this prison. It's more of a 4-yard. It's more of old school convicts. A lot of guys that are just fucking stretched out beyond duration, Buzz Lightyear time. They're over there getting their Woody Woodpecker on, right? That's just what it is. And so he ends up there. And for the time being, he's all right. He's functioning on that yard. But he's plotting and he's planning. And he's plotting and planning on this black guy. Him being a wood, brother. He decided that if he's going to fucking take his anguish out, he was going to do it on someone of the opposite ethnicity. Someone that he could really sink his fucking teeth into. So he comes out to the yard one day, and by design, man, everything that he planned, according to the people that I talked to, I ended up going to the shoe and doing some time there and conversating with him personally. He was down in we'll get to that. Anyway, so, he's on the yard chilling, and I guess there was a black dude that he just didn't like, man, that kept on, kind of picking on the white guys, the young white guys taking their canteen, pushing up on them, trying to do the Fleece Johnson. Yes, he was trying to get his fleecialization on, right? He was trying to get his Tupac on, right? He was definitely drinking that Aitu juice. So this guy wasn't having it. And of course, he's in a race for 1,000 years, unbeknownst to a lot of people. They didn't put their conversation out there. It was a pact. Like I said, those that were on the tira, those that were in the oil that got to hear it, we heard it. The rest of the people out there in the fucking streets and in the yard, they didn't know what was going on. They didn't know this fucking white guy was crazy, right? And he was trying to fucking catch 100 million years. But anyways, he figured out this would be a perfect time. He had air and opportunity, a whole lot of it. So he waited to yard recall. This black guy always played basketball, the whole yard, man. That's what he did. He did it more, not so to play the game because he couldn't play worth shit. He did it more so as a workout, right? Just to stay healthy. He was an older guy, probably in his late 50s. This guy came up with what is considered a sword. Not a pedazo, not a 5-inch fucking shank you got off the fucking railing, not something that you cut out of your bunk, not something you cut out your windowsill, not something that you rolled at night out of a Suave shampoo fucking bottle. No, none of that, humps. We're talking about a sword. Conan the Barbarian! We're talking about some old prehistoric medieval shit, right? This vato came out and stuck shit in his meat bone. Dug him out. Man, he got his 1,000 years worth, right? Dude fell out and died on the spot. Yard down for about 7 hours in the dirt. Dick is in the dust. They took us one by one, man, searching us on the way in. You know what I mean? I was over there doing that fucking, doing the bottles from Shark Color, wiping my hands, even though I didn't even touch no one. And that was it, right? It was definitely dangerous. Now, you need to understand that this yard, this particular yard, right, was as dangerous as they get. And for someone to come out and do that, it was normal. But the type of weaponry he used, the inscriptions, the swastikas, all these different white power propaganda that he had on there, you know, this hatred, hate speech stuff that he had on there, man, was what made it just a little bit more heinous of a crime. Anyways, that guy ended up getting death row for killing that guy. And I ran into him. I was in the shoe, and the way the shoe worked, man, death row was below the shoe, and so you could talk through a drain. And I remember, man, we used to trade. They got Taster's Choice, and we got Folgers, right? And so we used to switch coffee. You know, the blacker, there was a cool blacker that would take it down to him, and he'd switch back up, shoot little wheelas. It was all good in the hood, man. People would communicate. He had a lot of homeboys. He gained a lot of notoriety for that, you know, because he became well known after that. But I remember that man was in a race for 1,000 years. I never seen nothing like that before in prison. You know, I'm sure a lot of crazy things go on, and people, they get complacent, man. They're bored. So they do a lot of things with their time. Now, these white guys, I've always said, are different, brother. They take shit to the extreme. One thing about a white guy, man, I've always known, I've always seen, that they go to the extreme. If they're going to do it, they fucking do it. Okay, they don't play. A lot of people that sleep on the white man while they're incarcerated, or sleep on the white man not knowing exactly what they're about, let me tell you, they're all about that action, homes. They're about them activities. They might do it for whole different reasons. They're not gang banging. They're not gang bangers. They're not part of a body or a clique. A lot of them are part of gangs on the streets. And yes, but they're not gang banging like that. They're not going out there doing drive-bys and red rags, blue rags. And they're not doing all that, homes. They're getting to the motherfucking business on a political or a racial, making their statement and their cause felt. Anyways, it was a race for 1,000 years. And I heard this conversation. I'll never forget it, man. And I've always stopped back about it and wondered to myself, I know these guys are lifers, so I know right now today, most of them are probably still in prison unless a law changed and they were able to get out and hopefully proceed with their life and do better, right? But even that, hearing that conversation and the stories they told, because I got to hear each individual story of why they were in prison, and one got worse than the next. It was like a competition. They were very competitive, these guys. They were like the Harlem Globetrotters, only from Boston. It was weird, right? They were like, so what'd you do? Oh yeah, so what I did is I stuck the fucking razor blade in the scalp and just started to scalping. That's it. Motherfucker, I grabbed the toaster, right? Talking about motherfucking grilled cheese sandwiches. Check how I'm coming though, right? They were on some different shit. Anyways, it's true stories, it's facts, man. The race for 1,000 years. And it's a double, what is that? A double entendre? Is that how they say it? I don't know how they say it, but the race for 1,000 years. They are a race that marched for 1,000 years and one that was trying to fight to get that. I know that guy that ended up catching death row, man. I think he did above and beyond his 1,000, right? But I don't think it counted because at the end of the day, he didn't catch more time. He just caught the death penalty. So it'll be like that sometimes. With that being said, I hope that you move smooth with a purpose. I hope that you enjoyed the story because it's all facts and it's all truth. And I hope that, you know, you come back to right here, the Collective Clips, where I'm giving you nothing but the raw and the real. Make sure you tap it with Gunners Collectives, the Dubs channel, the Dub S channel, and every other Raza channel on YouTube. Support everybody because everybody puts in that work. Regardless if you like me or you don't, I appreciate the fact, man, that you're trying. That's it. You're trying. With that being said, thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive and struggle and struggle and strive for not getting no years. I don't want 1,000 years. You know what I want? I want a sopa. I think I'm going to eat me a sopa in a minute. This is the gun. I'm going to reminisce. Bang, bang.